This here is Penny, who I believe is Chihuahua Border Terrier. I know this because I have a Border Terrier, and her hair and her back is long. It looks just like his. And this is Coco, who I kept on calling Teddy, but his name is actually Coco. And this is their roadmap to success. Now, these are both great little dogs, and they're really, really cute dogs, as you can tell, and I think that's been part of the problem. I think these dogs have gotten away with everything because they look so darn cute, their guardians have just kind of let them go. So what we did is we went over a number of rules to incorporate. One of them we're breaking right now by letting the dogs on the furniture. So no furniture for at least 30 days or as long as the problem's still going on. I would say another rule is if we're eating food here, the dogs are not allowed to be on this area between the area rug and the couch or on the area rug here around the table while food is being eaten. We're going to make the dogs sit before we let them in or out of the door. We're going to not allow them to be in the kitchen when we're preparing food. And we're going to make them wait for permission to eat their food at mealtime for them. And we're going to use the word, your word. What is your word? Your word was chow. And your word was fatty, which is a very interesting word. We like that. It's unique. Let me see. I'd also like the guardians. Anybody who follows me online knows that I'm all about positive reinforcement in dog psychology. Positive reinforcement, we're going to achieve that by petting the dogs with a purpose. Anything your dog is doing when you pet it is what you're rewarding. And these guardians were basically petting and rewarding the dogs for doing the things they didn't want. So from now on, we're going to ask the dog to sit. Sit. Then they get the reward. In this case, it's a treat. In other situations, it would be a pet. Remember, when you pet them, try to pet them under the chin and say just the command word after they sit. So if they sit, I pet and then I say sit. If I give a treat, I put the treat in the mouth and say the word immediately after the treat goes into the mouth. Let me see. So not being allowed on the furniture. The bed should be only with an invitation and only when the guardian is in the bed and ready. So you put your nightie on and adjust the pillows and the lights and get in bed and comforter. Whenever you're ready, then you invite the dog up with an invitation. And they're only allowed on the bed for good behavior. So if they're on the bed and they start doing something we don't like, you have to get down. So, and same thing for the couch. So if we invite them up and then they start barking or doing something we don't want, you have to get down. Or if we invite them up and they get down to get a drink of water, they come back, they need permission to come back up. Now, because Coco likes to bark and demand bark at her guardian, we want to restrict anything that opportunity for that. One of them is about 3 in the morning. He likes to tell her he has to potty. So what I would start doing is taking them outside for a walk right before bedtime, then dump the water, and then he doesn't go outside, doesn't go potty until the morning of the next day. We can't jump when he barks at us, otherwise he's going to continue to do so. And that's, I think, part of what's been going on. So the more we pet with a purpose, the more the dogs are going to start to engage in desired behaviors like sitting, coming to us, laying down to get that attention. And they understand now I have to ask the human versus telling the human. And I have to pay for it with the currency of obedience. Now, we'd also like to use passive training. So if the dog comes to me on its own, I'm going to pet her and say, come. Or here, if we're going to switch for her, because we've probably said come so many times, it's been diluted. So every time the dog comes to me, I'm going to pet it and say here. Every time the dog sits down, we're going to pet it and say sit. Every time it lays down, we're going to say crash. So anything a dog does on a regular basis, we can assign a command word and reward them for doing it. After we've rewarded them enough, after a while, they'll start doing those things to get the reward. Coco just went to the dog bed next to her guardian. That's another thing we went over. So just toss the treat onto the dog bed. When the dog goes and gets it, say the word after they gobble up the treat. First, we toss one, let them see us toss it, and let them go get it. Second way we do it is we leave one there, and then don't say anything. And when the dog sees it, just like she's doing right there, they're going to come and try to get it. When they come and get it, we just say the word, whatever the word is for dog bed, after they take it in their mouth. The third way we do is we lure the dog onto the dog bed and then give them the treat and say say whatever the name of the dog bed is instead of come or sit. Those are the 3 ways I do it. Now, I do this to entice the dog to go to the dog bed first. After a while, we do it to reward the dog. So right there, Coco went to lay on the dog bed on his own. If the guardian wasn't filming me, she would turn and just pet him within that 3-second window and say the word for the dog bed. And if I have a treat here, I can toss the treat here when he goes on the dog bed, and then he gets the treat and I say the word after he licks up into his mouth. If I don't have either one and I can't get there fast enough, when he goes there, I just would say dog bed name. So that way he starts to associate. Remember, dogs go through repetition, consistency, and good timing. You have that window of 3 seconds to correct a reward, but it has to be repeated a lot for them to understand. And 3 seconds is your maximum. 1/3 of a second should be your goal. So the quicker you get that treat to them, the more effective it's going to be. So passive training and petting with a purpose are the two easiest things the guardians can do. If they get in the habit of doing this, they'll do them without even thinking. Now remember to use that hand motion like this when we want to call the dog. I'm going to hold my hand almost flat with just a slight curl on my fingertips. Now if I want the dog to come to me, I'm going to start lowering it. The lower you go, the more it's for the dog. The higher you go, less it's for the dog. You saw she backed up. So what I do when I put it on a sit is I go in an arc over their head like this, not just vertical and not horizontal, at an arc. As they track up to get more elevation, they put their butt down. As soon as the butt lowers, I lower it, let her lick it off my hand, and then I tickle her under her chin, and I say the word sit or down or come or whatever it is. So practice that every time that she, especially for her, every time she comes to us, make sure we're petting her and saying come or here, the new word, so that she starts to anticipate. If I hear the word here and I come to the human, I get rewarded. The more you practice it inside, the easier it will be to do it outside. Now, because the dogs are all over the place on the walk, we went through a structured walk. The guardians actually shot a little video themselves so they can watch the rules for a structured walk. The key is both guardians let the dogs move in front, and they were correcting with the leash a little bit slower. So remember, this is the speed of the correction. It should be, really, really fast. And you want to take the tension off the leash before the dog gets a chance to pull against it. Remember, the dog should be aligned with your hip, not in front of you. If it's in front of you and you try to pull up, you're pulling back, and it's going to cause them to go forward. Another rule with it is the dogs have to sit before I let them in or out of the door. Because we have a set of stairs for the apartment upstairs, I would go out the door, not only walk the top of the stairs, turn them around, and then come down halfway or 3/4 or a quarter of the way down the stairs and stop suddenly. Ask the dog to sit. Don't let the dog take a step ahead of you. The other thing is on the walk, carry a bunch of treats with you. In between every driveway or walkway, stop somewhere and tell the dog to sit, give it the treat and say sit, and then continue. If you do this for a week, every time you stop, the dog will just start stopping because now it's paying attention to where your feet are, because when you stop, you give it a treat. When it sits, after a while, you just stop and it'll sit on its own. So again, that's the benefit of positive dog training and reinforcing and rewarding the dogs for desired actions and behaviors. We went over a leadership exercise. That's what we filmed here. And so I'd like the guardians to follow the instructions in the leadership exercise. And that's when I'd like each guardian to do this at least twice a day with the dogs. The more you practice, the faster they'll get it. But we want to get up to the point where the dog can stay there for 15 minutes while we're watching TV. And it can walk around the room. It just as if the treat is here. It's like there's this force field around it. The dog can walk all the way around it. I'm only going to correct when it tries to go on it, like right there, I would be correcting for that. So the dog can go anywhere it wants. It just can't challenge for the treat. And we're going to go 5 seconds, 15, 10, 15, 30, 45. Watch the video there. I got all the instructions. Call me if you have questions about that one. We also taught the dogs how to stay. We did this off camera. Make sure you practice that one multiple times a day. Remember the 3 Ds. First for duration, up to 5 minutes. Then for distance. Then for distractions. And for distance, it's like 1 step away, count to 2 as a pause, then come back and give the treat and say stay. And then eventually we get to the point where we can walk far enough away where we can step out of line of sight. We're going to step out of line of sight for 1 second, then come back to the treat, dog give the dog the treat, and say stay. And then keep on moving. The next time we move away for 2 seconds out of sight, and 4 seconds. Remember, after you do the stay, when you get done, the last one, say the last treat, toss it a couple feet to the side, and when the dog goes over and gets it, say the word break or release or whatever your word is for freedom, being that you're done with the exercise, and I would come up with a different word for each dog. This way you can put them both in a stay and then call one of them at a time if you need to. Now, once we have the stay in place, that gives us the ability to help the dog practice staying in the next room. For most dogs, the gulf of being with my human 100%, the human leaving is too big for them, and that's why they freak out and have separation anxiety. So now once the dog can stay, we can help them practice staying in the bedroom while we're in the kitchen, or staying in here when we're in the bedroom or in the bathroom. So you get up to use the bathroom, put them in a stay. Go to the bathroom, come back and give them the release. Go put them in a stay, go in the kitchen, make yourself a snack, come back and give them the release. So you're practicing it on a regular basis while you're here, which is an easier scenario for them. And eventually we want to do it with distraction, where maybe we have the door open, or we have some construction or stuff going on outside, or the TV's on with dogs barking, or things that might challenge and cause the dogs problems. Because that's the real world, and that's what we have to practice to work ourselves up to get to. We're going to use the escalating consequences to disagree with the dogs when they do unwanted behaviors. Text me or call me if you can't remember what those are, and I can show you what they are. Let me see. Feeding, we added some structured feeding. I already talked about that. On the walks, like I said, make sure that you are not doing things when the dog's too crazy. If there's another dog that's going nuts next to you, that's not the time to stop and ask it to sit. Want to put the dog in position to succeed. So if the environment is too challenging, or especially for Coco, if Coco is barking at another dog, we want to increase the distance between her and the other dog. We'll get to a certain distance where that's going to be her breaking point. That's when she will react. There's also a detracting point. So if you move her away, now for a lot of times, once they're above threshold, you might have to move them out of the line of sight. So you have to move them around a car, around a building, let her settle, or him settle, then try to repeat the process. Now I have a focus exercise on my website. You can look for a couple other write-ups that are around yours, and you probably will find where to message me. I can send you a link to the video. I don't think the guardian's going to need it. He's aggressive to other dogs on walks, and I think it's only because he thinks he needs to protect his guardian because he doesn't think she's in the leadership spot. So things like not moving around him, walking through him so he learns to walk out of the way, following through. So if I tell him to sit and he doesn't sit, I get up and I follow him. Not aggressively, I'm not saying sit, 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 but I'm going to be consistent until he sits. Or if he goes around a table, I move the chairs so he can't kind of keep on going around the table. He goes to the bedroom door, I close the door behind me. Eventually he finds himself with nowhere else to go. Then I bark out the order, sit. So he understands that when the human asks me to do something, they're willing to stop what they're doing and follow through to get their way 100% of the time. Once he understands that's the case, then he's going to start giving in faster and faster because he knows you're eventually going to get your way. Might as well give you your way now so I can go back to doing what I was doing before. Let me see. Try to think if there's anything else. There's probably a whole bunch of other little things. If the guardians forgot, if you forget anything, make sure you call me or text me. I can only help you if you let me know there's a problem. And I assume that if I don't hear from you, things are going well. Penny, come. So remember, for her, use your hand flat like this. Keep it parallel to the floor. Penny, come. Lower it. And then when you get her to where you want her to be, then raise it over her head to put her in a sit. Then give her the treat and say, come. Tickle her under her chin so she feels good about it. Now, I just worked with a mini golden doodle named Ollie that will be 1 or 2 below you on this write-up. One of the things I worked on with Ollie is it's called counter conditioning. When I reached for Ollie, he did kind of what she does and kind of leaned back. So basically, I'll have you watch that video because it kind of explains how you can use counter conditioning to stop the dog from doing it. What I'm doing is letting her chew on it, and then I very slowly went like this. I did that over and over again until I could do it faster and faster, and she's not moving away. That video will go through a little bit more detail, but it's a great way to use positive reinforcement to help your dog not be fearful of a certain scenario that's going to happen frequently. All right, hey, Coco. See how that hand lure works? All right, Coco. Hey, Penny. This is Coco and Penny's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog, only sometimes you mean it.